guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming an interesting and exciting video. But before we dive in, let me give you an overview of my past academic career and then explain the rules of the game that we're going to play. I call AP Roulette. So in high school, I've taken advanced placement exams, or AP. Basically, APs give high school students the opportunity to learn college level curriculum and experience what it's really like to be in first year at university. And by studying the course and taking the exams, students can earn college credit as well as placement. Now, let's dig deeper. And if you've never heard of AP before or are planning to take AP in the future, this next part is very crucial for you. Right, so let me give you guys a bit of important or crucial background about the exams and the course. So AP offers 38 different subjects.
Wow, I didn't know it did that.
I'll link you down below to the exact link to the site where they will tell you exactly the courses that they offer. Each test has a mix of multiple choice questions and free response questions. Typically, the level of difficulty of both differ, assuming that you take an exam. So say AP Microeconomics. If you do take AP Microeconomics, in that one exam session, the multiple choice questions could be easier than the free response questions, and in another session, vice versa. You can't really tell which is which and which will be more complicated than the other, but you just have to prepare yourself as much as possible using the ample resources that College Board offers, such as the AP Classroom and other non-endorsed practice books and textbooks such as Barron's and Princeton. So all of these tests are graded in a 1 through 5 scale, where 3 is the line you basically draw, and that is a pass. 4 is very qualified, 5 is extremely well qualified. So people who earn 1 to 2 typically do not earn college credits because basically in the area of disqualification.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
So 1 to 2 do not have any significance when applying to colleges or universities. So to get started with this video, it's a bit of a different video than the other videos that you see on YouTube, such as those that explain if AP exams are the hardest, or if AP exams are the easiest, or which AP exams are the hardest or easiest, which resources should I use for the AP exams. This is unlike the rest, and it's a bit more fun and more interactive. So the rules of the game are: Number 1, I will spin the wheel of AP exams I've taken throughout high school. Number 2, I will then give information on each about the course. Is it hard or easy? And why is it hard or why is it easy? Which resource should I use? And the exam, is it hard or easy? Does it match the course? Number of hours and the question types. And finally, number 3, I will rank the exams in terms of difficulty, where 10 indicates very difficult and 1 indicates easy. So let's spin the wheel. Perfect. So we have a winner, and it's AP Human Geography. The course is easy and definitely not as difficult or challenging as the other AP exams. However, I would suggest aligning the resources with what you're studying. So you just have to make sure that you match the resources with what the exam asks, because I've passed through this problem where I had a book, studied a lot from that book, but then I ended up in the exam and the questions were just not what I studied. I would say the resources to use should be AP Classroom. However, AP Classroom does not provide detailed information on the curriculum. So what I would suggest is trying to find a solid textbook on the internet. I can't really give you any suggestions on the resources because I'm unsure on that as well. I would say the study time would be around 1 hour to 2 hours. I wouldn't go more than that because it's much easier to learn and to understand and comprehend than other AP courses. Right, so the exam. There are 60 multiple choice questions that you need to answer in 1 hour. Other 3 questions are free response questions, which should be answered in 1 hour and 15 minutes. The exam is pretty challenging in comparison to what you learn during the year. Does it match the course? I would say not, so you just have to be careful and make sure that you do get the right resources. I would rank Human Geography 3 out of 10 because you just have to make sure that you do get the right resources. Again, I do focus on that and I really want you to really keep that into mind when choosing your course. All right, let's move on. The next one is, ooh, you know what that means? It's AP Calculus AP. For your information, AP Calculus does have 2 divisions, and that is AP Calculus AB and AP Calculus BC. The course is difficult, and mainly it's because you need to spend a lot of time understanding the concepts and the nature of the formula and how it works. You need to really have patience. Please, 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 you have to know that you will get a lot of mistakes at the start of your course, but don't let that discourage you. So basically, just trust the process. AP Classroom is very, very important. I personally have not used any textbooks, not used Barron's, I have not used Princeton, I haven't used Kaplan. Really, really important. Practice, practice, practice. And it's literally a cliche to just say practice, 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 because practice makes perfect. That is true. But especially for AP Calculus AB and AP Calculus BC, dedicate a lot of time on practice. And whenever you get errors on that practice, just pick up the question, redo the question as many times until you do understand it, because the exam will base itself on the questions from AP Classroom. The study time, I would say probably 2 to 3 hours. The most complicated exam structure has Part A, Part B's, where multiple choice questions have Part A and Part B branches. Part A is 30 questions that should be answered in 60 minutes, where a calculator is not permissible. Part B is 15 questions to be answered in 45 minutes, where a calculator is permissible. Then free response questions, Part A, Part B. Part A is 2 questions, 30 minutes with a calculator. Then Part B is 4 questions, 60 minutes with no calculator. Move on to the next AP exam. Alright, AP English language. It seems is very demanding, which means that you will have a lot of essay questions to answer and a lot of essays to write in a very short period of time. You do have a lot of reading as well to make sure that you do get a lot of information to be able to answer the essay questions. So there are 45 questions that should be answered in 1 hour, and those are multiple choice questions. This includes sets of other sub-questions, which are 23 to 25 questions will be reading and comprehension questions, and 20 to 22 questions will be writing questions, or basically proofreading and grammar. So section 2 would be free response questions, where you have 3 questions to answer, all of which are essays in 2 hours and 15 minutes. The first question is a synthesis question, where you are given 6 sources, and with these 6 sources you need to gather information to produce an essay. Number 2 would be rhetorical analysis, where you would have to read a non-fiction text and analyze the writer's choice of language, which contributes to the meaning and the overall purpose of the text. The third one, you're given an argument essay, which does not have sources, and you have to base yourself on your brain. That is where reading in class comes into play. Reading here is very important because it does give you a lot of information and a lot of ideas for you to write. The resources to use would probably be, as I said, reading in class and definitely answering as many essay questions as possible. Independent study time would probably be 2 hours. The exam is way challenging and definitely time consuming. So you just have to make sure that in the multiple choice questions, you do move with a quick pace, because that is where most people fall into the trap of reading a text and really analyzing it too much, but then still getting questions wrong. So just make sure that you pass quickly through the text while understanding quickly, but just don't spend as much time. Does the exam match the course? Yes, it does, basically, in a way. It's just that it's a bit more practical and more about the skills that you learn in the course. I would rank this exam a 7 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. So it's a bit more on the difficult range because you just really need to pace yourself really well, especially in the essay questions, because if you do analyze too much and if you do spend your time reading those sources of the synthesis essay, then you might fall in the trap of not being able to finish the other 2 essays. Looks like we have AP Microeconomics. The course is fairly easy. This is more focused on how firms and organizations take economic decisions within the overall economy, so you're just focusing on individual units of firms, unlike macroeconomics where it focuses on the entire economy. The resources to use, I would just, one suggestion is you could use other sources, but what I would suggest you is to use Barron's. And the reason I tell you to use Barron's is because it's short, but it gives you the exact information you need for the exam. practice a lot. And that, where do you practice from? You practice from AP Classroom. They have literally the best. Exam is easy and challenging in a way. Make sure to focus on the monopoly and factor or resource market segment of the course. The reason I say this exam is easy is because they do give you some terms to define, as well as some simple graphs to analyze and interpret. But these do sometimes get challenging, so just keep an eye out on the percentages of which section or which unit of course is more important. So the greater the percentage, the more questions will be given. There are 2 hours and 10 minutes for this test. There are 60 multiple choice questions that should be answered in 70 minutes, and there are 3 free response questions. I would rank this test a 4 out of 10. Next one is... looks like we have AP Psychology here. The course is quite easy in terms of learning, and the exam as well, which is quite surprising. But it's just that there is too much information to learn and terms to memorize. That is not the most difficult part, but just take some time to understand those, because they could sometimes be quite interesting. So I did find most of the information interesting. Sometimes you do get bored, but hey, listen, everyone gets bored of just doing one thing for longer periods. So just make sure to take some breaks in between, go do something else, so that you could regain that strength and energy to continue moving on. What I would say is the complex part, or a bit challenging part of the exam, is applying the theory and the information you read into practice. So the free response questions and most of the multiple choice questions do give you application of the theories and information that you learn throughout the course into real life. So you just have to kind of nail it and get the skills for that. One more thing I would say for AP Psychology is please learn the names of the theorists and the researchers, because they will haunt you during the test. The best resource I use, and please do use this resource because it will spark your interest in psychology, and it is a very interesting one, so I don't really want it to go to waste. I would say it's Meyer's AP Psychology textbook. You could go and purchase it on Amazon. Although it has 1,500 pages and there's a lot to digest, and it does really help in the end, trust me. I would say study time for AP Psychology is 2 hours. The exam is time pressure. The exam content is easy, the questions are easy, but you just have to pace yourself really well. And does it match the book? It does match the book, so make sure you do take and purchase Meyer's. There are 100 multiple choice questions that should be answered in 70 minutes. And you also have 2 free response questions where you need to answer those in 15 minutes. I would rank this test a 4 out of 10 in terms of difficulty because it is quite easy. The next one, it's definitely different. Okay, AP Biology. Of course, is challenging and difficult. It's very difficult, and it is one of the hardest AP exams. I did get a 4 out of 5, so that is pretty solid. However, I worked a lot for that 4 still. Resources I would say is use Barron's plus Princeton plus AP Classroom and labs if you do have any. Study time I would say is 2 hours. The exam is really hard. I would say it's the same as calculus, but it's much harder than calculus. 60 questions that you need to answer in 90 minutes, so that's 1 hour and a half, and 6 free response questions where you have 2 free response questions that are long and 4 are short, which should be answered in 80 minutes. So that is a 3-hour test, and the rank would be 10. The last one is macroeconomics. Of course, is definitely harder than AP microeconomics because it's more focused on the entire economy. The graphs here are a bit more complicated as well. The resources are AP Classroom and Barron's. Barron's is very good here, as I said. With AP microeconomics, the study time would be 2 to 2.5 hours. The exam is challenging, however, much more than AP microeconomics. Focus more on the fiscal and monetary policy part of the course. Make sure you do practice a lot as well from AP Classroom. They do have the best questions that really align to the test. Does it match the course? Yes, it does. Totally. If you do, take Barron's as my suggestion. 5 hours for the exam is the same as AP Microeconomics. I rank this test as a 6 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. I hope you guys enjoyed this very detailed explanation of the AP exams I took in high school. I also hope that you guys really like the idea of the AP roulette that I came up with. If you do want future videos that have AP content explanation or any further details on APs or SATs or any American high school curriculum exams, please do like this video, comment, and subscribe. Anyway, I'll see you guys in my next vlogs and can't wait to see you. Bye.